Randall, and welcome to my video about integration. Integration is a major part of the AP Calculus curriculum, and you definitely need to know it if you want to survive the course. Because if you don't, good luck. So, without further ado, let's hop into this. But first, I do have a mini lesson on derivatives, because you might need to know those before we get into the opposite integration. Catch up soon. Let's go. And we're back with my mini lesson on derivatives. So, what is a derivative? A derivative is the instantaneous rate of change, which is a lot of words, but it's pretty simple. And what that means is you're trying to find the slope of any given point on a curve because it is constantly changing. So, for example, when you have a regular function, a straight line, the slope is going to be the same regardless of which point you take. So let's just say all of these points have a slope of -1. When we come up to the curved graph, we see that the slope is ever changing. So at this point, the slope is positive. We can say it's +2. But when we get up here, we see that the curve kind of mellows out and it starts to decline. So right here, we would have a negative slope. Let's call that -1.5. So as you can see, the slope changes all throughout the curve, no matter what point you're at. And that's what derivatives are here to find out. So the simplest way to take a derivative is the power rule. And I know that looks really bad, but it's pretty simple if I explain it. So the power rule stands for the concept that the function equals the coefficient times the variable to the nth power. And when we take the derivative of it, we are essentially multiplying the power by the coefficient and then subtracting 1 from the power. So what does that look like with an example problem? We have the original function y equals 3x to the 4th. So applying these rules, we multiply the power by the coefficient, which gives us the derivative y equals 12. We keep the x in the problem, and then we subtract 1 from the power. So the 4 turns into a 3. And that is our first derivative. And that's my mini lesson on derivatives / power rule. Now let's get into the integration, u sub. What I have is u sub. And u sub is the most prominent process you will use in AP Calculus. Comes up on multiple topics, tests, concepts, you name it. You're probably going to need it. So where do we begin? Much like the name, you have a u and a du. Now, what are these and what do they mean? So in the original equation, we have two seemingly separate parts. We have the 2x and the x squared plus 1. For now, we can ignore the power of the group. We're more focused on these little parts. So what is the u? The u is a part of the equation that you can take the derivative of in order to cancel out another part of the problem. So you can kind of already see it here, but we're going to take this part as our u because we are able to take the derivative of the x squared. So write that down here. We've got our x squared plus 1. And as I said earlier, we are only focused on the part inside of the parentheses. Yeah. So we are going to now take our derivative of the u. And as I explained earlier, we take the power times the coefficient, which still just gives us 2 out in front, and leave the variable and subtract 1 from the power. 2 minus 1, 1, and I don't need to write that. So, and the derivative for any constant, no matter what it is always going to be 0. So right here we have our taken derivative, and we see that this du matches the original equation up here. So essentially what we're trying to do is rewriting the equation to make it simpler to integrate. So plugging in our values here, where we have these equal each other, we can rewrite this equation to be the integral of u to the third, and here's where that power comes back in, times du. So now we've rewritten the integral to something much simpler to solve. And now all we gotta do is apply our same integration rules, where you keep the variable, add 1 to the power, and then divide by that new power. But we're not done, because our original problem started with the variable x. We have to get it back into the terms of x. How do we do that? Simple. We substitute the u back into the equation. So our final answer turns into x squared plus 1, all of that to the 4th, and then divide that by 4, and that is our final answer. You've made it to the end of my video, and I know I talk a lot, but I hope you can take something away from this video, either derivatives or u substitution, that can help you in your AP calculus journey. So, have a good one, and you got this!